Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Living Well. On Living Well, we look at a variety of topics related to living a healthy lifestyle. Today, we are at XTC, or Excellent Taekwondo in Palos Heights here. We're talking with the owner, Master Jeffrey Williams. And, we talked with you a couple years ago about your business.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming back because it was a really interesting conversation. We're going to take a look at how Taekwondo can be part of a healthy lifestyle beyond purely the view of it as a martial art.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
So maybe if you can give us that first, your background, how long have you been teaching Taekwondo? And then maybe you can talk about, who takes your classes.
Awesome. So I've been teaching martial arts Taekwondo for over 25 years. Been in business for 18 years in this Palos Heights neighborhood since 2021. Right now we have kids and teenagers and adults of all ages. We have kids as young as 3 years old to adults as old as in their 50s currently. So it's definitely a class and a way of life for everyone. So if anyone's interested, this is where you want to do it at. So yeah, thanks for that question. I appreciate it.
Well, it's an interesting point, and I think that's important for people to consider because you did that full age range. Like,
Yeah.
I might think, well, hey, I'm in my 60s here. Maybe it's outside my range, but the way you're doing, no, this is for everybody.
No, it's definitely for everyone, and you'll be surprised of people's capabilities of being able to do martial arts. I think it comes down to the person's willingness to give it a try, which is one of the reasons we offer a free 30-day trial. But nonetheless, I've seen people of all ages be a little bit nervous because it's something that they've never done before, or maybe it's something that they've done when they were younger and they're trying it now. And then we also have people that have some disabilities and some other things going on, such as autism. I had some students, I think I told you in a previous conversation where I had a student that was blind before that I taught. So it doesn't matter. As long as you have the person that's willing to learn, willing to put the work in, you have the instructor, like myself and the instructors that work under me, that are patient enough and willing to adapt to the student that's here, I think everyone will get the benefit of what they're looking for. So I've definitely, I live what I preach by being disciplined, being respectful, just living a healthy lifestyle.
And thank you. That's a great segue to the next question. I'm going to ask you, do you think we would rehearse this? And we have it. But I like the inclusive quality you're talking about, too. This is for everybody.
Absolutely.
And you may have some type of disability even, and that can be part of the experience, and it doesn't have to get in the way of what they can learn or benefit by taking one of your classes. I'm going to pull the line, make sure I get it correct off the website. One of your goals is to make sure you provide a pipeline for a healthy lifestyle through martial arts and building champions inside and outside of the studio. And there's some great things, healthy lifestyle, not just in this space, but when they step out into the world. I guess I'd like you to speak to that a little bit about, how that's part of a healthy lifestyle, what happens in here.
Yeah, so like you have a lot of people, again, it doesn't matter if you're a child or an adult, we all are different types of people. We're introverted or extroverted. And sometimes I have where you have a child or an adult or a teenager, they don't have the self-esteem or confidence and say, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I want to do this. Or they'll say that, I used to do it, but I don't know if I have the ability to do it. But I always I tell my adults, I said, you do it at your pace, you do it for yourself. I tell the students the same thing, you do it for yourself. And so what I've been able to see over the years of teaching martial arts is that a lot of my students have gone on to accomplish bigger and greater things than even I didn't know they could do. I have a couple of my students, they're in medical school right now. I have one student who's a prosecutor for the state of Illinois. I have another one that's a sports agent, another one that's a banker. I have quite a few that's in major colleges right now that got scholarships. You're talking about Notre Dame, Boston College, you name it. And then just in high school, I think it helps them focus, study, it helps them build the discipline, the habits, because I preach it here. As you may know or may not know, I was in the Marines for 8 years, and I'm very serious about discipline and being respectful, but also being able to relate with the students, the parents. Every day my parents, they come here, or my students come in. You can ask anyone or go online and see our reviews, and I greet every parent that comes every single day, any guest that comes every single day, because I think it's important that we teach our kids that. So when our students come inside the building, regardless if they're a child or an adult and they're a student here, it's our requirement that you greet our guests. You come in, you say, hello, sir, hello, ma'am. When you leave, you say the same thing. You say, good night, sir, good night, ma'am. So when you're practicing these habits, it carries on to home activities. It carries on to their school activities.
And that's a great, because I want to address that, like examples of the carryover, because
Sure.
I'd like you to talk a little bit. There's obviously physical benefits of
Yeah.
it, and I'd like you to address that as well. But some of the other things that you talk about, a healthy lifestyle, including like their mental, emotional well-being,
Sure.
you kind of address that a little bit. The way they greet, the way they interact with others. Can you speak to those, continue that a little bit, the physical part and some of the other mental, emotional well-being of it?
Yeah, so I'm a father of three. I have 2 adult daughters and an adult son. And one of the things, and all 3 of my kids, they did martial arts from kids all the way to adults. But the main thing is that I wanted my daughters in particular to be able to protect themselves, be able to defend themselves. I didn't want them to have that victim mentality. Not saying everyone has that, but you don't have to be a superhero at the same time. So and I'm talking about the physical aspect of things right now, I'm thinking about like women's self-defense. I go to quite a few school districts and teach it. I've taught it to women at salons and real estaters. Women that sell real estate and saying, hey, because they go into these homes by themselves. And I say, hey, you just want to be able to defend yourself and get away. Now, from the emotional side, I think what it does, it helps people understand that you're going to fail, which is one of the things about perseverance. It's like learning how to deal with failure, how to pick yourself up. Don't give up. Don't be your worst enemy. And also how to deal with bullies at school or deal with people that don't say good things about you. We live in this world, in this life where not everyone's going to be your friend. Not everyone's going to always be your biggest cheerleader. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have goals for yourself. I tell people all the time, as long as I've been living, opportunity really doesn't come knock on the door. You have to go out and go get it. But if you present yourself in the best light, you'll see good things that happen. So I tell my students, like I tell everyone else that I teach, I personally treat people the same way I want to be treated. So I think that reflects them outside of Taekwondo. And so when I have my students speak to parents or guests, they're very impressed, even outside of here, when they hear them say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, all the time. I think that is such an amazing thing for our young people. Even for our adults, I tell them, I said, no one's above not showing respect. So even with my adults, I show them respect. I say, sir and ma'am to them, and they say it back to me. I said, everyone loves that. So when you're outside of here and you're working on your mental health, your mental well-being, 'cause we all have things that happen in our life. You have to learn how to be able to deal with that. And you got to have that inner discipline. You got to have that inner belief. And also, I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian. So I rely on my religion as well and say, you know what? Sometimes you got to fall on your knees and thank God for everything, regardless.
I think you've hit on so many important factors about how the way we conduct ourselves, how we interact with others, and obviously, how would I like to be treated? I would like to be treated with respect, but to do that, I'm going to have to show respect as well,
Absolutely.
right? And conduct myself that way. I'd like to take a look at I'm going to pull another line off your website if you're all right there. Use part of your mission statement to teach. To teach and embody the 5 tenets of Taekwondo: courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and an indomitable spirit. You've talked about several of these already. And I'd like you to kind of talk about how they actually show up in the class, in your students' experience, in the actual martial art activity.
Absolutely. So like I said, for example, when my students come in the door, some of them are brought in by their older sibling, by parents. Even my adult students do it as well. But like I said, I make sure my younger student, I say, hey, hold the door for your parent. Be courteous, right? If we have guests sitting down, I tell my student, those chairs are not from you. The chairs over in the corner there. I said, those are for our guests. I said, you're a student here. You shouldn't be sitting there, right? So I think being courteous is number one. And definitely, I'm a old-fashioned type of male, person where I still believe in chivalry. So I believe in like holding door for women and pulling the chairs out and standing up when a person walks in the room and stuff like that, and taking your hat off when you walk in the building. When it comes to integrity, I'm a big believer in that, regardless of how embarrassed or how ashamed you may be. If someone asks you a question, be truthful. Like, say, if I tell my students in the classroom, I say, hey, did you finish your 50 kicks? Yes, sir, I did it. But if you didn't do it, you shouldn't say it. Don't give me 47, 42, or whatever. Just tell the truth. Say, sir, I didn't finish, right? When we talk about perseverance, I was talking about it earlier, about failure. And so what I would tell my students, I failed so many times in my life, but because of my failure and learning from my failure, that's what got me to where I am now. And I tell them all the time, if you look at the champions and some of the greatest athletes of any sport, they all talk about failure. How they failed so many times to get to where they at. When we're talking about a domino spirit, I think you have to have that spirit where you don't become defeated, because it's so easy to be so hard on yourself. The rest of the world and everyone else that's against you is going to be hard on you. You have to be the strongest supporter again. You have to have an indomitable spirit for yourself. I think I'm trying to remember the last one on here. I feel like
you hit them. You actually got them all. Yeah, courtesy, integrity, perseverance,
self-control. That's the last one. Self-control. Now this is big. This is big because I explain this to my student. I think this would be good. So I tell my students, a lot of times they find themselves in bad situations because they either instigate or they don't have the self-control to just say, you know what, let me leave it alone. But I tell them, I say, it's even worse for adults. I said, when you're a teenager or you're a child, if you get into, say, a fight or whatever, they call your parents. I said, when you're an adult and you lose your self-control, I said, you're going to have law enforcement involved, and it's a totally different type of story. It's all kind of different repercussion. So I said, you have to learn that self-control at an early age and understand that, you know what, I can sit here and argue with someone, or I can just walk away and never see them again. That's how I look at it. So have self-control, understand that, you know what, as long as you're not trying to physically hurt me, I'm okay.
Yeah. You're talking about a lot of really important decision-making type processes, whether it's the integrity thing, telling the truth. I mean, own it. You can try and lie, but the reality is whatever it is. Sure. Are you going to be better at this or whatever? Making smart decisions when you're in bad places. I like the connection that's part of the physical environment. Like, we're here for martial arts training, but there's a whole other dimension to the thing going on.
It is. This is for me personally. Leadership by example. I think that is so important. It makes me remember the movie called Remember the Titans, right? And the guy, he was talking about why the captain told him, he says, oh, you have a bad attitude, Jules. He said, I don't like the way you play. You're selfish. And then he told him, he said, you know what? He said, leadership reflects, he said, attitude reflects leadership, Captain. It's all coming from the head down. So what I do, I make sure I show that leadership from me. I make sure I set the example. So a lot of times in the past, not anytime recently, we used to have like summer cookout, barbecues, stuff like that. And I remember one of my younger students, this is years ago, I was at a table with her parents. We was at the party and they had a beer. I'm an adult, so they passed me a beer. And I'll never forget, and this is a very true story, there was a beer on the table right in front of me, and I started drinking. And I never forget one of my youngest students, she's like 6 years old at the time, she walked up to me and she had shock on her face that I was about to drink a beer. And then so I put it down. Her parents said, no, it's okay, Master Williams, you can. I said, no, I said, it's not a good look. And ever since then, I would never drink a beer in front of my student because I know the reflection that it gives to them. They look at me differently. I'm not just their parent. No, I'm someone that they look at too as someone they might want to aspire to, someone who shows leadership skill, someone who almost, if you want to say, has that God image, even though I'm nowhere near perfect, but to some, that might be what they see. But if I'm up here telling them, hey, don't this, don't do that, but they see me doing things out in public, then it gives them the right to do whatever they want. So I do leadership by example, and I'm a big believer in that. And again, you hit it on the head. 'Cause I talk about self-control all the time, every day.
It's so important. It's a big part of being a role model, right? Yes, and if you're going to set the example, it is part of everything that you do, right? How you walk life. I'd like to kind of close with, you shared a lot of great insight into the martial arts experience with Taekwondo. Think about somebody starting out new. I mean, or for anybody in general, any advice you would give somebody to considering this as part of a healthy lifestyle?
Absolutely. So I'll tell anyone this, that the great thing about martial arts, Taekwondo in general, is that it's year round. So a lot of times you have these summer programs, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. It's just like, a league, a fall season, a spring season. Taekwondo is year round. We're always working on something new, but it's all structured around discipline, respect. And I think if you're looking for your children or yourself as a teenager or adult, where you're looking for that structure for yourself, where you say, you know what, I want to be a better person for myself. I want to see myself be able to conduct myself differently. Or maybe you say, hey, you know what, I've always been ashamed to go to the gym, but I want to work on my weight management. And you just made me think of it. I have two actually. I've got two examples real fast. I have an adult student. He is doing amazing. He signed up for Taekwondo for his son, and his son is, I think, 10 or 11 years old. But the dad is doing so amazing. He lost so much weight, and he's so proud of himself. And then you get to see his self-esteem and his self-confidence. And he's like, yeah, sir, I was at home. I was in the garage. I was working. And it makes me so happy. Then I have another student. His name is Ibrahim. And his mom, she's so happy. She said, Master Williams, I remember my son started here. He lost so much weight. He feels so good about himself. He can't stay out the mirror. And I'm like, that makes me happy because that's what it's all about. Not everyone's going to go to tournaments, and not everyone's going to go try to, show everyone all the best kicks and everything. Sometimes, again, it's about what are we teaching? What are we teaching our youth? We're trying to teach you, hey, if you don't learn a single kick, learn self-respect, learn self-control, learn how to carry yourself. Understand that you control your own action. Don't blame others. Don't sit here and try to put someone else at fault. You control your future. You can control your own destiny. And that's what I'm a big believer in. I tell my students all the time, and I mean this sincerely, I tell them I do not have to teach Taekwondo because I do this for a passion. I'm not doing it to say, how much money can I make? Right. I love teaching Taekwondo. And when you love teaching, it don't feel like work. Yeah. And that's how I feel about it.
It sounds like you're experiencing the rewards of it that are not monetary, and they're priceless.
Absolutely.
And I definitely want to encourage people, as I'm listening to you talk, you're talking about helping that person find that better or best version of themselves 100%. Through what happens here. Yeah. Mr. Williams, thank you very much.
No, thank
some
you, sir.
great lessons. Yeah, and I really appreciate the insights you shared.
No,
thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone that's watching. If you're interested, you can see our website at xtctkd.com. We got a 30-day free trial. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no catches, no gimmicks. I'm very serious about this. A family-owned business, so you'll be taught by me directly. So,
all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm Dave Worsley. You've been watching PHTV for Living Well, and we've been talking with Master Williams at XTC Taekwondo. Excellent Taekwondo. Thank you for watching.